microprocessor 8085. The microprocessor 8085 is included in the BSc second year, third semester syllabus, and we are discussing about the basic features of the microprocessor. We have started from the basic information we have studied in the last year, that is the number systems and how they convert and how they are useful for the computers, microcomputers, and microprocessor. In the second lecture, we have discussed about the microcomputers. Actually, the machine which is based on microprocessor is called as the microprocessor based system. So the block diagram of microcomputer actually works for the microprocessor based system. The microprocessor based system may be anything. It may be your washing machine, it may be your music system, it may be your smart TV, anything which is governed and controlled by the microprocessor is called as the microprocessor based system. So there are number of systems which are governed, which are controlled, which are operated by the microprocessor. Now, henceforth, this is the third lecture. From this third lecture, we will be discussing the basic principles, the physical appearance, the important things about the microprocessor, how it works, what is the architecture of the microprocessor, what is inside the microprocessor, and so on and so forth. I have decided that at a glance, in a single lecture from third lecture, I will discuss 10 slides on microprocessor. So it will take near about 15 minutes or 16 minutes to discuss the microprocessor beginning, the 10 slides I have prepared for you. In the fourth lecture, I will again introduce 10 slides and so on. So let us begin with the microprocessor 8085. The title which is depicted, which is displayed on your screen, is 8085 microprocessor pin diagram and its description. So it is clear that we want to discuss the pin diagram of the microprocessor 8085. Remember, 8085 is an IC. IC stands for integrated chip. What do we mean by integrated chip? So let us start discussion about the integrated chip. So the 8085 microprocessor is one kind of semiconductor device. Remember, the semiconductor device, and it is an integrated chip, means number of semiconductor components are carved. Carved means they are uh, etched on a single semiconductor chip, semiconductor material chip, semiconductor buffer. And that particular semiconductor chip contains number of circuitries, and all these circuitries are internally connected. In the mathematics, you use the symbol integration. Integration means what? Integration means to the thing which integrates, which brings the different things in a single roof, under a single roof. So whenever I say that it is an integrated chip, means the semiconductor devices, number of semiconductor devices, they are carved on a single chip, and they are connected in such a way that they can perform a pre-dedicated, pre-designed operation. Here 8085 microprocessor has innumerous number of semiconductor devices. They are connected in a particular circuit, and then 8085 microprocessor is formed. Now, the two terms VLSI and LSI, these are the two technology that we have discussed in actually in the first semester. VLSI stands for very large scale integration, and LSI stands for large scale integration. Means VLSI, this particular terminology is used when high number of transistors, large number of transistors, they are etched, they are carved, they are integrated on a single chip. Similarly, the large number of transistors are integrated in the large scale integration. The number of transistors increases from large scale integration to the very large scale integration. Now, there are different types of microprocessors also available in the market. You might have seen the companies like Zilog, like in your particular mobile phone on which you are now this studying this material on microprocessor. This mobile phone is also operated by a microprocessor. So whenever a company produces a mobile phone, it introduces its own microprocessor. So there is a microprocessor from Samsung, there is microprocessor from Motorola, there is microprocessor from Nokia, and so on and so forth. And all these microprocessor, they works on a same and simple principle, and that principle we want to understand. As you go further, the technology, the word length of the microprocessor, the memory it can handle, it will go on increasing, because nowadays we are using 64-bit microprocessor, and we are starting our discussion from 8-bit microprocessor. Remember, from 8 to 16, 16 to 32, 32 to 64. So we have actually crossed the fourth or fifth junction of the microprocessor. But we want to discuss the very basic principle of the microprocessor. Therefore, we are starting from 8085 microprocessor, manufactured by Intel company, and which the architecture of that microprocessor is very easy, to understand. And after understanding the microprocessor architecture of 8085, we will be able to understand the most complicated microprocessors also. So we will be discussing 8085 microprocessor. The microprocessor can deal with 64 kilobyte memory, that we will see in the due course. Now, this microprocessor consists of 40 pins. Remember, whenever I say that this particular microprocessor consists of 40 pins, what do I mean? These 40 pins, what is 40 pins means? Whenever an integrated chip is manufactured, it is manufactured generally in the DIP package. Look at this figure, it's simple IC that you might have seen, and there are number of pins on both sides of this IC. Okay, and there is a notch. How you calculate the number of pin? So you start from the notch and go on in the anti-clockwise manner. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then 9 to 16. The number of pins which are available on a particular chip depends on how much connections we need from outer world to the internal world of this particular IC. For the IC microprocessor, for this microprocessor, we have designed, means of course Intel Corporation have designed the microprocessor with 40 pins, means 20 pins from this side and 20 pins from this side. So in all totally 40 pins are available for the microprocessor. And now we will be discussing number of pins one by one and their functions. The function of each pin must be considered to understand the working of the microprocessor, because the world of microprocessor, the world which is inside the microprocessor, is interacted by the outer world through these pins. These are the physical connection of the integrated circuit inside the microprocessor to the outer world from the microprocessor. So please remember, we want to discuss a microprocessor which can handle 8 bits. The word length is 8 bit. It is general purpose microprocessor, and it has 40 pins. That particular hardware IC has 40 pins, 20 pins from one side and 20 pins from other side. Such package is called as DIP package. DIP stands for dual inline package, means when the both sides of the IC contains the pins, it is called as a dual in package. So let us wipe it out what we have discussed. Now, whenever a particular IC is to be operated, remember that unless and until a suitable power supply is connected to that IC, you cannot operate that IC. Therefore, you have to supply suitable power supply to the 8085 microprocessor, and the power supply needed by the microprocessor is plus 5 volts. So there must be a constant power supply of plus 5 volt DC. Of course, DC means direct current, no fluctuations, nothing like that. Only plus 5 volt power is needed to operate this microprocessor 8085. It has tremendous capacity to operate, it has tremendous capacity to process. But remember, any IC, most of the ICs, forget about all the um, some power ICs and so on, but they need 5 volt power supply or DC power supply. So our IC is also will need DC power supply of 5 volt. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. And it is a fabricated using technology, and that we have seen. Now suppose the processor is in the process of processing the data, okay, then it must operate on a particular frequency. So we will try to understand the relation between the frequency, of course, the relation between the frequency and time in due course. Remember, we want to understand the relation between frequency and time. But before that, just keep in mind, for the time being, remember, we are going to discuss this particular aspect in detail in due course. But here, please keep in mind, the microprocessor 8085 operates on 3 megahertz maximum frequency. 3 megahertz. 3 mega stands for 10 raised to 6. So whenever I say that 3 megahertz, it is 3 into 10 raised to 6 hertz. When I say that it is 3 kilohertz, it is 3 into 10 to the power 3 kilohertz. So kilo stands for the 1000 and mega stands for 10 to the power 6 factor. So microprocessor works on the frequency 3 megahertz. That is an important thing. Another thing is the clock frequency of the version. See, remember, there are different versions of microprocessor, and we will be discussing 8085A microprocessor, and therefore its frequency is 3 megahertz. Look at the picture, look at the figure, and this particular figure will show you how the hardware appears of 8085 microprocessor. Look here, this is 8085A. 8085, the IC of 8085A, and there are 20 pins from this side and 20 pins from this side. We will try to count the pins from this side, 1, 2, 3, and up to 20. So this will be the last 20th pin. This will be the 21st pin, and this will be the 40th pin. So all these pins have a particular number given to them and particular function assigned to them. Remember, this is very small IC, and it can perform maximum operations with maximum speed. So whenever you see such type of IC, you will be astonished that how can this small IC perform such a operations with high speed and high accuracy. Okay, so let us have the detailed structure of the 8085 pin configuration. Remember, I will shift my appearance here. Okay, so it will be easy for you to look at the different pin numbers. So as I have told you, this is the first pin, uh, this is the pin number 1, the pin number 2, 3, 4, and up to 20. This is the 21st pin that we have seen, and this is the 40th pin. Okay, so in this way there are different pins available to interact with the outer world. See, look, we want to understand the function of each pin in detail, each pin. So what is the function of the first pin, what is the function of the second pin, third, fourth, and so on up to 40th pin. We want to understand, because unless and until we have understood the function of each pin of that IC, you cannot interact with the IC, you cannot program the IC, you cannot understand the functioning or the working of the IC. All these things, they comes under the hardware of the IC. Hardware, there are two types of hardware and softwares in the digital electronics. Hardwares are those things which you can feel with your hands, you can touch. So you can touch this IC, therefore this is a hardware IC. You can touch those pins, these are the part of the hardware of the IC. So remember, we will be discussing all these pins. Second thing, in the examination, no one will ask you the pin configuration, to draw the pin configuration of the IC. Only the functions of the pin configuration will be asked. So it will be easy for you when you go through the discussion of this IC. Okay, so I will change this slide for the time being, and I will shift our attention to the another features of this microprocessor 8085. But remember, we will have to come back to this IC, and we will have to discuss the different pins of this IC. So this is the 40 pins. I have told you there are 40 pins available in the microprocessor. So whenever these 40 pins are there, these 40 pins are generally divided into 6 groups. So there are 6 groups of these pins, 40 pins. There is address bus, there is data bus, control and status signal, power supply and frequency, externally started signals and serial input data, or output data and these serial output input ports. Okay,